But now we're in a really difficult situation where we're losing capacity from the park. Yes, we've got a nice top spin, which will eat some of the crowds, but still we're losing ride offerings.
This is the Theme Park Loopy podcast.
My theory on this is that I think Merlin are in a spot of bother, to put it lightly. What I mean by that is I think they've obviously made the hard decision to get rid of the rides, the capacity eating rides. Now, Fabulous Fandango was on a lease anyway, so it was up for the lease, right? So that's fair enough. There would be moving the dungeons, I'm guessing, because they're going to use that space for something else, which I can understand because it was an upcharge ticket attraction, as we all know. It probably didn't get a lot of crowds in. Certainly when I was there wasn't that many crowds. Whenever I went around it, I only went around it 2 or 3 times in its opening life, in its operating life. And with the whole top spin and then being replaced, I think you're exactly right there, Dan, with your prediction. I think they probably tried to do other things with the space and then thought, actually, a Huss top spin does fit. With Blade being removed, I can understand why they held off, but I don't understand. And actually, I'm actually going to throw a shout out here to Sean Sandbrick, who actually mentioned this on his YouTube account. So, and I think it's a good valid point, to be fair, is that, you know, usually with Huss or with these flat rides, they do these multi-ride deals, right? Both the Blade and the top spin were both Huss attractions. So why did they not, if they knew they were going to take out Blade and they knew they were going to replace with this Huss top spin, with this inverted Huss top spin, then why not do a multi-ride deal? And, you know, they don't take that long to install. I mean, the installation for the top spin took about, well, a week really to get it fully structured. I know that it's needs to be tested and everything, all of that jazz. But in terms of it being actually physically built, it only took a week to move from the car park to being actually physically built. So it doesn't take long to install. So why didn't they then immediately, if they knew Blade was going away, replace it with another one? Because Huss also builds pirate ships, right? Because again, it's all about capacity. But now we're in a really difficult situation where we're losing capacity from the park. Yes, we've got a nice top spin, which will eat some of the crowds, but still we're losing ride offerings. They really need to work, in my opinion, Alton Towers do, on their ride operation and ride offering, because this year was an absolute, well, it was rubbish, to put it lightly, with the ride availability. And there were so many complaints happening because people were going for full days and were either getting comped their day back because ride availability was rubbish, or, you know, even worse, if they weren't comps, they had to deal with these long periods of downtime. So yeah, I think there's all these strange decisions being made in Merlin recently. The CEO stepped down. There has been international parks and attractions that have closed. We're seeing all sorts of other things which we'll touch on later in the podcast, but it just seems strange that there are all these weird decisions, rumors. Again, these are just rumors, but rumors that a lot of the funding has been moved from the north down to the south, with a lot of focus of capex being spent on Chessington and Thorpe Park. Arguably, that could be because they're expecting Universal to come in, and that's apparently what's happening, and they're moving their money that way. But also with the North Studio being shut down as well. I don't know if we even touched on that on the podcast, but they shut MMM's North Studio right before Christmas. You know, so we're talking, you know, 30, 40 people are going to be losing their jobs, being made redundant just before Christmas. I mean, that is a horrendous decision. So,
the Merlin Magic Makers, I think, is it
yes, yeah, Merlin Magic Making. Their North Studio, which was based in Alton Towers, was suddenly announced that it was going to be shut. And so all of those people that were working on that separate team were going to lose their jobs. Which it must have a deeper business.
Which is kind of crazy when you consider the kind of acclaim that they're being given for Nemesis coming back, and presumably a lot of the work will have been done in-house at Alton Towers. So for that to have happened, I mean, hopefully the jobs are being relocated. I don't know if everyone's been made redundant or they're being moved. I don't know. But one thing you did touch on about the money going down south, So Project Horizon, that was meant to be an indoor multi-dimensional coaster coming to Alton Towers. I don't know how far they actually got in terms of the ride building. I think they'd already made a little bit of progress, at least in terms of the location. But it looks like Chessington are now getting a multi-dimensional coaster, and that's going to be Minecraft themed. I presume this is probably the multi-dimensional coaster that was going to come to Alton Towers, or the deal. I don't know if they actually bought the actual model, or they just agreed to buy a multi-dimensional coaster. But do we think that is actually basically Project Horizon that's been now basically sent to Chessington and given a Minecraft wraparound, or do we think it's something else?
I think it could very well be, and I think to sort of broaden the discussion a little bit, there's a lot of talk right now. I think Merlin are the world's number 3 theme park operator, and the rumor is that very shortly they'll be number 4, as they're booted out of that spot with Universal. So I think they're probably taking it quite personally. I would imagine competing directly with Universal and seeing them as the direct competition, the direct threat, would probably be what their management team sort of is considering at this point in time. So I would imagine they're simply moving the ride to compete with the new Universal UK park, which is a shame really, because I think that would have been, I think that's a mistake in the broader picture.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I mean, I can't. None of us can officially say whether it definitely was Project Horizon or not. It does definitely look to be very, very similar to what Project Horizon was going to be, but the Minecraft decision was strange to me because, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like IP is good when it has strong placement in an overall park perspective. What I mean by that is like if it fits in well with the park. And I worry for Chessington. I love Chessington. Chessington is my absolute favorite Merlin park. It always will be. I hold it extremely dear to my heart. Okay. What I find strange about this decision, I'm sure it makes sense in the broader picture, and this is us just coming into it from a fan and speculative perspective. But I worry because Chessington, before the IPs came in, was very simple. It had different areas which were based off different lands and places you could visit in the UK and visit around the world, and effectively go on a world of different adventures in the UK, right? That's the basis of the park. Yeah, you get to travel around different lands that represent different parts of the world, making your day a world of adventures, right? But now what we've got is these strange IPs that don't really fit. So we've got, I totally understand the author, Julia Anderson. Is it Julia Anderson? Julia will the author of The Gruffalo and Room on the Broom. That makes sense, right? That's a kid's English storybook. It fits in both of those areas very well and is quite on brand for Chessington. I think that was fantastic. Great move. What I'm confused about then is that we've got then Jumanji, which is I understand still kind of based on a kind of jungle world, animal-based world, but it's a movie IP that is already now like 3 years old, which feels strange to me. And then we're going to now have Minecraft, which is completely, I understand again, the purpose of the game is to build worlds, but again, it's completely removed from anything else that's happening in the park. So my worry for Chessington is that it's going to become this smorgasbord of randomly chucked IPs that don't really fit in the overall compass of the park, in my personal opinion. That's what I worry about. So I'm scared from a guest point of view, because I feel like it doesn't really make sense, and it makes the park become a bit disjointed and doesn't have a sense of unity within it.